few little kinks need to work out, and I think this should be a fun little board, you know? We're doing the Epoch. I don't know actually how they want to pronounce this one. 87. There's going to be some unknown stuff with this board that just hasn't been decided. This is still kind of in the interest check phase. So we'll take a look at it today. We're going to take our time. So this is from a new brand, a new vendor, a new designer called Evolurk. So they have some interesting designs. This is also, I'd say, one of their more interesting boards. It definitely has some style to it, but it has some like functionality, and I would even say that the board looks very pretty. It's not like overly stylized. There's a lot of missing details for this board because it's still an interest track. So this is going to be more of a showcase just so everyone's aware of what we're doing today. I do have some extra details that aren't listed, but I can't guarantee you guys these details are going to like hold up until maybe when the group buy starts. So we don't know when the group buy is going to be. We also don't know some other things like sale type. I'm assuming it's going to be a group buy though. I'm hoping maybe they can make it a in-stock buy. And then the only thing that I have info-wise, it might be around $450. The keyboard they sent over today is freaking heavy, but it has some awesome stuff in it. Like for example, it's a TKL that has a 18 they say 3.4, but let's just say 18.5 millimeter front height. It is gonna be very comfy, hopefully, to type on. It has some interesting parts. It has a lot of parts to it. And then you can also, I think you can technically build this plateless, but it should be interesting. Let's take a look. Inside the box, we have a bunch of different plates. And again, I don't know what exactly will be coming with this because this is an interest check kind of look. So we have what looks like a aluminum PC and FR4. We have two different PCBs. So it does look like they're going to be offering flex cut and non-flex cut. Big appreciate on that. That is very, very awesome. Very much like that. We can take a closer look at the PCBs. Some foams. Pretty standard these days to get foam in kits. I don't know if this is coming with the keyboard, but it is a screwdriver kit. And it's a whole screwdriver kit. I don't know if this will come with it. That'll be interesting if it does, but hey, interesting. It's not just like one screw or one thing in a bit, you know? Some feet, I believe. We have a... Actually, this is just an empty box over here because I think these might be already installed. But there's an OLED for this as well. We have some screws, some clear gaskets, more screws, some ribbon cables, screws, and more screws. There's a lot of screws to this build because there's a lot of parts. So let's take a look now at the actual board. Like I said, it's actually a very interesting keyboard. I like this color a lot too. It's definitely different than kind of the normal cream keyboards we get, but very cool. So this is where the OLED sits, right over here actually. So they kind of blended it into the top frame where it kind of looks like it'd be one big screen, but it's actually just a small little screen over here. So that's very, very interesting. And then we don't have like the thinnest bezels in the world, but we also have some kind of stylized, we have a raised area over here. Kind of show you guys the side profile of this. So it's a box on wedge, but it definitely has a little bit more to it. And you can just see, I don't know if you guys are familiar with my thoughts on front heights, but you can see how thin that really gets. So they kind of taper it down, which is nice. It looks cool. Definitely has, again, some styling on the side over here. You get this big copper weight on the back, and then you have more parts to the back over here. Again, I think this looks quite nice. We have some press-in feet. It looks cool. I like the way this looks. They had some interesting finishes over here. Epoch, some minimal branding, which I appreciate. It's not plastered everywhere like some other keyboards. This is a really nice weight. So it has the copper piece over here. Then you have this extra additional piece with this really cool finishing. We've seen stuff like this on the Percent Studios boards, and it's nice. It's a nice kind of like ribbed texture. Yeah, and then you can technically build this plateless, which who knows, maybe we'll do today. I haven't really quite decided, but it's an interesting looking board, and you have some red accents. They do have on the Keycaps a whole bunch of different colors, it looks like. I don't know exactly what their finalized color palettes will be, but they're saying this is a retro style. I don't know if I agree with this being kind of a retro style. Would you guys consider this retro? This is going to be a non-centered USB-C, which I'm fine with, but some people might not be fine with. It is recessed too, which is nice. I don't know if you guys noticed this. This is a small detail. They have the two red stripes over here. And then they kind of carried it over to the back over here, which is really cool. So they kind of carried the red stripes. Should be interesting to install though, because 2 ribbon cables on the opposite sides, unless you kind of have to install it this way, then flip it in. But let's take this apart really quick and see what's on the inside of this. Oh, interesting. So there's a second piece to the top frame, which I'm kind of curious, and I kind of want to open this just to see what it looks like. But there is a second piece. Interesting. So there is a lot of pieces to this, so this is making more and more sense why this would cost $450, by the way. So again, you kind of have a weight, secondary pieces over here. I think that might even be a secondary piece. They have like a little diagram, but yeah, a lot of pieces to this. Yeah, it's gonna be $450. Bit more of an expensive board. It does seem like it has mounting points under the spacebar, which is a bit of a shame, but it's using non-adhesive gasket feet, which makes it a little easier to kind of justify why they did that. So there's the OLED. Interesting. And these are the accents. So these are even separate pieces here. And there's the OLED right there. Very, very interesting. It would have been very cool if they made the whole top row a big OLED, but I don't know what the hell you'd use that for. Let's take a look at that PCB that I promised we'd look at too. Probably not going to be using this one here, guys. I'm going to be straight up with you. I still, to this day, like, I find it very difficult to want to use flex cuts because of how much, what it does to the sound is it really thins it out. So again, not hating on it, but I'm probably not going to use this. This is not for me. I appreciate that there's options though. A lot of options though for the hot swap. That's good to see. We have step caps, we have split, we have ISO, we have split back, we have tons of stuff here. 2 different spacebar sizes. That is good to see. We are using KL sockets, which have become my, they're good sockets. I'm not crapping on the quality, but God, I hate this additional piece of metal that they put now. It gets caught on any fabrics you put on if you're trying to build this up in, like, I don't know, a desk pad or something, so be careful. Still don't quite understand why they put that extra piece of metal on the sockets, but you know what? I'm not going to question it. Whatever. But yeah, not a bad looking PCB. We do have, unfortunately, some mounting points under the spacebar. However, technically, you can just not put any of the gaskets, which are, little socks you can put on. We'll see if that affects anything in the keyboard. It really shouldn't, because the gaskets look quite thick. This is a hot swap PCB right now. I'm assuming they're going to be making it solderable. This might be a problem with the keyboard. I don't know if alignment has been done well on this. Let me actually double check something. Again, this is a prototype, so there's probably going to be some oddities to this. Is there a way I can kind of adjust that? I think we'll have to take off this to find that out. Oh yeah, okay, this is just not screwed in enough. Okay, maybe the alignment's not an issue. Maybe they just didn't screw it in. Okay, the alignment of the USB-C needs to be worked on. I will let them know. It doesn't seem like it wants to sit nicely, unfortunately. So you can see, I think what's supposed to happen, oh, here, let me show you guys. This is supposed to sit a little bit more flush to the top here, but it's not. Something's very much blocking that from happening. Yeah, it's just not sitting nicely. All right, well, I'll let them know. Let me try to screw this in just a smidge more, I guess. Most of this stuff is already installed, by the way. Like, the daughter board was already installed. The OLED was already installed. We're gonna start with gasket, and then we'll move to top mount if we so feel the need to. I probably will end up switching to top mount because that's probably what's going to be my preferred mounting style on this keyboard. I'm going to ignore the gasket socks underneath the spacebar, by the way. If we need to put them on, I'll put them on, but we'll see what it sounds like without first. I'm guessing we have to go from the top first, and then we have to plug this guy in. So let's do this. I'm not loving some of the alignment for the gaskets here. Maybe I should push them in a little bit more. But they seem a little bit tight here on the top, which might be fine. But let's try this. Let's take this out, put this guy in. I also don't like how the ribbon cable sits right on top where the gasket's supposed to be. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be intentional that way, but not loving that. They should have maybe opened up like a little, they should have just installed the OLED on the bottom, I think. All right, now let's put on the bottom piece. Not the worst install in the world. Definitely not as frustrating as the Tenet. Tenet's still probably the worst out of all these. But let's screw in the final screws. Now, some people don't actually like these type of feet, I've learned. I've learned that some people think these feet make keyboards sound kind of thuddy, which I don't know if I really agree with. I feel like it very much depends. Although I personally love pressing feet like this. They hide the screws, so if you want that cleaner design, you don't have to worry about, you know, adhesives. I like what they did with this too. This looks nice with the feet too. All right. So now you can flip this guy over. Now, it does look like the OLED is a little bit too big for the window here, which might mean we might have to end up swapping, I guess, whatever's on this. Maybe it's going to be programmed to be a little bit smaller, but I don't have any sort of program or anything to alter this. They didn't give me anything. Very interesting. A little deceiving, obviously, because you would think this whole thing might be an OLED, but it's just this little piece right over here. This is the gasket config. Probably going to end up liking this more in top mount, but we'll see. All right, let's see. So this is with PC plate. We're using Cupid switches, which I've used before and I quite like. That's why I ended up getting more. And this is the Epoch 87. We're definitely gonna be trying out the top mount version of this as well, but this is the gasket sock. So it's sitting on silicone gasket socks. It's actually not bad. You know, I was a little bit worried the spacebar would be kind of empty, but it has more of like a thuddy, bassy sound to it. I wouldn't say it's the brightest spacebar in the world, but I think it kind of makes it unique. I would say in the gasket config, this is not my absolute favorite sound profile personally. I think it does sound non-hollow though. Maybe over here is where it does start to sound a little bit crappy. I don't think this sounds bad, but let's try the top mount. Why are we taking off our socks? You're right, guys. That's inappropriate. You're very right. We shouldn't take off our socks. All right, so this is the top mount. I did put the screw underneath the spacebar as well. You can already tell how dull that is. I don't know if I like this more than I like the gasket. I think I prefer the gasket, actually, oddly enough. Spacebar's a smidge weak, I'd say. Yeah. The problem is if I do unscrew this spacebar, because it sits flush with the aluminum, it's gonna smack again. The alphas are not bad. I think the alphas are quite full. I think a few things need to happen with this project. Again, we are kind of looking at this as an interest check / you know, we're going to give as much criticism as we possibly can. Yeah, the screen should be eventually customizable. Two things. I think the internals slightly need to be reworked. The gaskets, when I did have the gaskets, they were just way too close. And I did mention this. They didn't seem like they were fitting very well into the frame. So there's a lot of pressure happening with these gaskets, and you're probably losing a lot of what they're supposed to be doing. So I think the internal frame needs to be just reworked a smidge. I think the gasket points need to be completely, all the stuff off the PCB and the plate needs to be completely removed from underneath the spacebar. The ribbon cables are a smidge annoying to use. I wouldn't say they're like gonna, you know, make or break anything. Also, this USB-C needs to be slightly reworked as well, because the USB-C, like the daughter board, is putting a little pressure on the case, which eventually will probably damage it. Like I said, I'm a little worried. And should we force break this? Okay, let's try force breaking a little piece of this. Is tape mod still a thing? Yeah, it is. It's very preference based though, because it has a very distinct sound profile that you may or may not like. All right, we're gonna tape mod it, or force break it rather. Let's put you back together here. Or you know what? A few little kinks need to work out, and I think this should be a fun little board, you know? Like the spacebar already sounds better. I think the force break, maybe they do need to add some sort of sticker at the top or just some way to kind of separate some of the metal. Oh, that spacebar is night and day now, guys. That is absolutely night and day. I actually like this spacebar now. I don't hear any rattle of the plate touching the top, which is good to note as well. Ooh. Force brake stay winning. So yeah, a few minor things. Ooh, that spacebar does sound nice like this though. And also that up arrow is pretty nice. I think the gasket was okay. Again, gasket mount for this, the sound profile wasn't exactly my cup of tea, but this is really nice. Yeah, if you wanted something with this styling, which I think is kind of unique, you know, again, there's a few minor things I would suggest that they kind of tune up and replace a little bit here. It is definitely a unique keyboard. It has a low front height. I think the typing angle, and I don't have that info on this, typing angle looks like it's about 7 or 8 degrees. The side profile is nice. It is a bit chunkier. It definitely has some weight to it. I think the weight system's kind of nice. It seems like it's a fun board. It is on the expensive side because of how many pieces really are going into making this. A few minor tweaks to the internals. Yeah, this is nice. I don't mind this at all. Definitely different. I would love to see more about what the screen can, you know, we can set up the screen to do. They have an estimated price of $450, which is definitely more on the premium side, but not bad. Not bad at all. I can't say I'm not happy. Bye, everybody. See ya. It's actually not bad.